welcome to this Fotospeed YouTube video with me, Tim Jones, and I have the esteemed pleasure of being joined by Scarlet Page, a music photographer, portrait photographer, and general photographer, I think.
Wow, yeah. Long-time photographer.
Scarlet has an exhibition coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
when does it start, Scarlet?
so it's the 12th of September.
12th? Opens on the 12th.
And it's only up for a very short amount of time, so blink and you'll miss it, but in a good way.
And it's in London, isn't it?
It's in London, in Fitzrovia. Yeah, so I think it ends on Sunday the 15th. Okay. That's right.
And here at Fotospeed, we've been printing all the lovely prints here on Harlan Miller's Photo Rag Metallic, and they look absolutely stunning. Now we're going to do a whole separate video on the prints and talking about a bit more about the exhibition and the hard work we've had to put in with some prints as well, and changes, and how we actually go about printing an exhibition as well. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about your 30-year career within the industry.
Yeah, it's something. It's taken a while to sort of. It's nice to look back and be reflective and feel really proud of, like, God, I really have taken pictures of a lot of people and a lot of pictures. I mean, it could keep me busy just archiving and digitizing for the rest of my life. I mean, I've been really lucky to make it my career. It was World Photography Day the other day, and it really is true that photography is my world. It always has been since I went to college.
Yeah. Before we dive into all of that.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel, and also don't forget to sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter. I think that's a little bit of housekeeping out of the way anyway. So, right. So my first question is, how did it all start? How did it all? Because it's probably no secret you've been around music pretty much all your life.
Yes, but in the background.
Yeah.
But I suppose, seeing the visual image was always, my mum was a model and she was photographed by some of the best, like Barry Latigan and just incredible fashion photographers in the late 60s. And so, I was always surrounded by the visual image being quite important. Obviously, it was a different era. There was no, TikTok and everything like that. But still, so in a way, it was even more precious seeing magazine and print and posters, and we didn't have any sort of video cameras particularly in the house, but Polaroids we had, and the old strip film with the little cube flashes on the top, which I would just shoot into nothing because it was fun,
and just swap it around,
much to everyone's sort of horror. But really it was not until, so I always loved art, and I'm not musical particularly myself, although I appreciate music. But so at school I did well in art and did a foundation course, and my tutor when I was doing foundation, when I did the photography module, was brilliant, and he was doing a part-time course in London, and I ended up doing that course full-time. So he helped me sort of gear my portfolio, and that's the thing. The first time, going onto the foundation course and the list of what you need to get and you need a camera, and just the excitement of having that first camera.
What was your first kind of proper camera then?
Well, Nikon.
Yeah, Nikon.
And actually, I have been Nikon all the way through. Okay.
We should point out Scarlett is a Nikon ambassador.
I am, but I'm not. I mean, these are my truths. This is the reality, and my career has had moments like this, and I think Nikon as well. But right now, we're all feeling quite strong, I think. But so just getting your first proper camera that is fully manual and that you're in control of, and learning the basics was just so exciting.
So was it an SLR you had? Was it like an FM or something?
FM2.
FM2.
So that was my first, obviously all manual focus and everything, which now I would hate.
It's going back, isn't it? It's kind of
I mean, I have great respect for the manual focusers, but so then I did a 3-year degree in photography, film and video, but specialising in photography. And then I didn't necessarily want to go into music, but as I was I'd finished my end of year, the big sort of end of year projects, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. But then I started assisting some photographers. That it just sort of happened.
Yeah, it kind of just.
It did. I was really lucky,
kind of thing.
And I think that was really important to get a real, because uni is one thing, but actually getting that hands-on experience, even just dealing with people. And it happened to be music photographers, actually, that I was working with, and a press photographer. And it just shows you real life, There's nothing like doing it proper.
Yes.
And so it was very different. But, I had the knowledge of how to load film backs and, with medium format as well as 35mm. And I had printed my own stuff on Fotospeed.
Oh, lovely.
And
that was darkroom?
Yeah. So at uni we had a brilliant darkroom, and I also set one up in my bathroom.
Yes.
Yes.
I think as we all did.
Which I don't have at the moment, but maybe one day
yeah.
when I retire. Does that ever happen? But yeah, there's no space for it now. I have a friend who's just putting one up, and I'm a bit jealous, but yeah. So I did about just over a year of assisting, and I realised that I had the itch to do it on my own. And so even though I wouldn't say I was sort of hugely confident, and I did take some risks really early on. I had amassed a lot of air miles while I was assisting, and I took a plunge to go out to a festival in America with those air miles. And I knew some of the tour managers, so I was just using the contacts that I'd made and then starting. And there was no pressure, which I like even still, where you can just take photos freely if you can make them happen, and started building up my portfolio that way.
Yeah, it's nice when that happens, when you get that freedom.
Yes. But then it's scary as well, because you're like, you can see a picture, and it's just whether you get a chance to actually be brave enough to get in there and do it.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Press the button. Yeah. There's always these, I wish I had, I found.
Yeah.
Kind of I wish I just pressed it.
Or just got the access, or, some of the pictures in the early days were terrible. And actually I've been going through, as a process of 30 years, going back and sort of, I've had not digitized everything, but a lot. And, there's some where you've obviously had the shutter speed on too fast with the flash. So you've got like a 2/3 of an image, or, we've all made those mistakes.
And I suppose shooting live as well.
Shooting live on transparency was also quite a tricky one. You had to be so spot on. And a lot of the time I wasn't, but sometimes I was. And also, your lenses depended what if I was shooting Glastonbury, say, with a 110mm lens or something, it's like, well, you're not going to necessarily get the best shots. But actually, I did still get some good ones. In those days, I suppose
you could get right up to the stage, and it's just growing and growing and growing now, isn't it?
Well, even still, it was a very high stage, and you'd have to sort of try and stand on something, or definitely try and blag a longer lens.
So whose were the first...
My first image that sort of got me sort of a bit of kudos was probably the Verve.
Okay.
And that's one that we've been working on.
Yes, I'll put it up tomorrow.
Yeah. So that was taken on that first tour that I went on, and someone said, come and meet the band, and they're from England, because we were in America, and I just sort of stumbled, went into the bus, they were all there, and just opportunist, took a few images, but I was shooting cross-processed, so C41 through E6, bounce flashing with a fisheye. Okay. I mean, it would have been nice to see what I was getting. Luckily, they came out, and then luckily I made them into a composite that I sent out to any manager or press officer that I knew, and the manager, John Best of the Verve, called me up and said, we'd love to use this on our artwork. And I was like,
fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was so exciting. So so then in my portfolio, people were like, that's the Verve. Oh, you shot the Verve. It's really cool. Yeah,
so that was in the 90s?
I took the image in 94.
I was going to say 94. Yeah, I couldn't remember when the album came out.
So yeah, that is literally 30.
I do remember it, sadly.
Yeah. So that was a Northern Soul.
Yes.
And then From then on, my first published image was of Chris Cornell from Soundgarden on the back cover of a magazine called Raw. I started working for Raw editorially.
Okay.
You know, sometimes it was just being in, and then you'd meet the team or like pick some magazines up, and then they think, oh, she's okay, you know, maybe we'll get her to do a job. So I started getting commissions for features and then cover features. And then Raw finished, but they were under the same publishing house as Kerrang magazine.
Okay, yeah.
So then I started working for Kerrang magazine and other EMAP titles at the time, like Q and Mojo, and then doing record company stuff as well. So it just sort of, for a long time, you know, there was a lot of money in the music industry, lots of traveling, not so many photographers shooting on film. And then there was the digital revolution, which was...
Well, it affected both sides of things, I suppose. The music industry suffered massively.
Yeah.
But also how pictures were taken changed, and by who?
Like the lighting guy's cousin.
Yes, yeah.
And you know, it really, anyone, and you know, photography is very accessible now, and that is great on so many levels. But it did take me a little while to jump to digital. It also was around the time when I had my daughter. So it's like, I didn't stop working at any point. I think maybe I was in the pit 6 weeks after having her. Okay. And that was actually the big Led Zeppelin Reformation concert that I was commissioned to do. So I couldn't miss that one, but I was there in body, but I'm not quite sure where I was. But it was incredible, nonetheless, obviously. But yeah, no, not at any point did I stop. And actually, I think from that point on, I worked even harder. It's also quite hard because people think, oh, she's a mum now, you know. Like, how is she? Oh, she's a mum now. Well, actually, a really hard-working one. Juggling many more balls. Yeah.
What was it like changing to digital in the early kind of... I know the first Nikon was a little bit...
Well, yeah.
Like the D100. It was,
so...
okay.
Obviously...
I think it was the D200 that really kind of changed things. But,
my first one was a D2X.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And even though they've come on so far, I have pictures in this exhibition that we're talking about that were taken like Amy Winehouse. And so actually I still managed to, well, I did get some incredible shots. And, you know, maybe the sort of capacity in low light, I mean, it wasn't like it is now, what we can achieve. And there's definitely a bit more noise, but still fundamentally, I was still able to capture. But the thing is, you know, over this time since digital, the thing that I miss was how simple it used to be in terms of you would go to the shoot, you'd take the pictures, you'd drop them to the lab, and then you'd either do some, you know, clip tests, so you might have to go back in an hour, whatever, but then you'd send the contact sheets to the client and they would choose and you get the prints. But you were kind of done when you'd shot the pictures. Then
it was over to the picture
you were moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
And so also interestingly with my archive, you know, we choose the images then, and then the shoot would get shelved and put in, I've done quite well with my organisation now, but so they'd get put away. And it's actually quite nice now to revisit those shoots because the selection made at the time, the ones that are fresh in your mind, you forget about all those other images that you took. Yeah. And there's some incredible ones. I'm like, wow, I don't even remember taking that. Yeah, but it's on the same contact sheet. So I did take it. But yeah, so now obviously you have to do so many more roles, like, you know.
Definitely.
And editing can be so time consuming, and retouching, and social media managing, and just marketing, and your accounts, and, you know, it's a lot. And sometimes it can take away that fun of the real creative process, which is why we're in it ultimately.
Well, yeah, the fun bit is actually pressing the button and taking the pictures.
And sort of, you know, working with someone and drawing what you want to get out. Is that sort of that chemistry of, you know.
Well, we used to have that relationship with the printer
as well
and the photographer, and it was almost a collaboration, wasn't it? In a way, it
100%.
They'd add their little bit to it. And
completely. And I do miss that, but then, there are so many amazing additions to digital photography now, and also annoying things. Like when you're on holiday and someone says, "Can I have that picture today?" And you're like, "Ah."
Oh yeah, because we want to post it this afternoon or something.
Yeah, that immediacy, it can be annoying, but it is also incredible.
Yeah, it opened up so much.
Yeah.
It's made things, what we can do with the cameras, I suppose, now is incredible. Well, I think it is certainly more demanding. You've got that, you're the, like you said, you're the editor, and you're the immediacy of it. Have you ever had a shoot where the art director is kind of sat there looking at the screen and is almost directing you as well?
Yes, and it's, there's something when you're shooting and you're not seeing the images before everyone else. I mean, obviously you are because you're capturing them, but that feels a little intrusive. And also, I quite like more of an intimacy with my subject, so I don't really love a massive team getting involved. And it can be a bit annoying, the art direction or the art director piping up, like, I know what I'm doing.
I don't know, you probably tell me better than I'm kind of thinking, but you like see the shoots, the fashion shoots and things like that that were going on. I'm just thinking of like David Bailey or someone. It's kind of, they might have had someone from the magazine there, but it wasn't as intrusive.
Yeah.
It was, but now I think it's because it's the immediacy of it.
Yes. But then there's also been shoots where I've been given a brief and the subject, for example, like the Foo Fighters, where, they're like, well, when you get there, could you ask them if they'll all jump in a one-man tub, hot tub? And so you're like, well, actually, it would have been quite handy to have someone else there to say. As it turned out, that particular request was greeted with much enthusiasm and made for a really fun shot.
Yeah.
But
which it looks great, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. I do prefer to keep it really simple. And sometimes, I quite often work with no assistants. So I think I prefer it that way. But, it depends on the job and the sort of importance of it. Sometimes it requires the big team and people getting involved, which is fair enough.
I always think it's quite interesting when the work just comes. It just eventually, it's like that snowball effect, I think, isn't it? It's kind of...
Well, you're lucky when that happens because it doesn't always happen. But for a lot of my, for a lot of my career, I have been really lucky where things have led to other things. But at the same time, again, reflecting, when it has been quiet, I've done projects which you have to keep doing. You have to keep creating and putting stuff out there, and then things will come to you.
Could you do your own personal projects as well?
Like Resonators, the guitar project.
Yeah.
That was a huge one for me, and that did result in a Kickstarter book.
Yes.
But it was originally set up raising funds for Teenage Cancer Trust, and I approached as many photographers that were still with us who were influential. I had to do my research in terms of who was like the best of the best and who were regarded as such, and then try and reach them. It was really hard with women. All the women that I tried to reach, many either couldn't do it at the last minute. And, it was a project set within a certain amount of time as well. So
I think there seems to be an explosion of female guitarists.
Yeah, more so now, because this was like 2013, 14. Yeah. And actually, the people now, if I was doing the project again, I'd be much luckier, I think, with my requests. And but that was a bit of a shame. Not as reachable.
They weren't as accessible.
It was a real labour of love and a lot of hard work, but just incredible as well. And
I do like the one of Wilko Johnson.
Oh yeah, that was the first one I took.
Oh, was it?
So he had been recently diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he had 3 months to live. So that being the first shoot that I did for a project for Teenage Cancer Trust as well, it felt quite weighty. Yeah. And he was the most incredible, inspirational character to be around. I came away from that day going, this day is exactly why I do what I do. Like what I have got from him is just incredible. Like, he's so inspirational. Just listening to him, the way he viewed life, and getting a bit emotional.
But I think it's nice when you meet people like that, because they inspire, don't they? And they push you, and it's not push you, but they inspire you to push yourself. Is that a better way? Kind of, it's
just seeing things in a different way as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. And you know, there were other people that I did in that project who, for example, Peter Green, who was a recluse, and I had to work really hard to try and find a way to reach him. But I really wanted to photograph him. And he, you know, to sort of gain his trust. And he was very deaf.
Yes.
So, and
they all are.
Probably. I mean, I am as well. But yeah, it just so that was a different one, because it's like, you know, I managed to reach him, and I managed to spend that time with him and get a shot that I felt would be worthy of his respect as well, where he looked not like, oh, he's busking outside Richmond Tube Station, which was the thing for a while, but, you know, actually someone who commands a lot of respect.
Yeah, and I always think it's very sad what happened to him, and kind of the way it went for him. But he was still there, I think. And he gets a little bit lost, I think, because of what Fleetwood Mac went on to do.
Yeah.
I think,
but it was a very different Fleetwood Mac.
It was, a completely different band even.
Yeah.
It was, like chalk and cheese, really.
Really, yeah.
But what he did, and what he, in those kind of, that short period, I suppose, in those few albums they did.
And there were probably some other photographers as well that, you know, people who really know about guitarists, as you probably do, Albert Lee and Dick Taylor, you know, like people go, oh, who's that? But actually, if you know, you know. You know, so that was, and like I say, that wasn't a commission project. That was something all self-funded. I went to America because there was a potential that I could shoot Paul McCartney, and you're not going to argue about that.
Yeah.
And so it was like building in a whole, like a week of shoots where I was sort of doing 2 a day.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it was so surreal.
Were you travelling to their houses?
Their houses. They allowed me in, you know, because it's like, well, where would you like to do it?
One of.
Yeah, one of, yeah. Generally in the Hollywood Hills.
Yes.
So, nice. So, you know, it would be like Slash in the morning and Paul Stanley from Kiss in the afternoon. And then the next day, right, who have we got?
Well, they all live together in this little...
Literally not together, but very...
Not together, but they're all close.
It could be like EastEnders. So that was incredible. And yeah, just brilliant. But like I say, you know, you have to make these things happen as well.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine, I just said about Paul McCartney, trying to access Paul McCartney, I suppose. But I imagine Peter Green was more difficult to access in a way than Paul McCartney because of...
Well, it was getting the message through to get, so that, you know, someone... So you have to find these little stepping stones, and it's like a puzzle. It's like a treasure hunt. But yeah, to manage to do that one. And the Paul McCartney one was weird because I knew it might happen within a week's time. So, you know, I'd arrived and I'd spent the first day sort of, you know, getting a hire car, getting some equipment from, you know, like I bought a backdrop while I was there, and just got back to where we were staying at like 4 PM. Really sort of jet lag was starting to kick in. And then I got a call saying from his tour manager saying, we're at the Jimmy Kimmel show. If you want to come and get your snap, come now. Well, firstly, now. and okay. And it's not going to be a snap, but I just need to get a quick portrait.
You got 7 minutes.
Well, I don't think I got 7 minutes.
Oh, really?
I got maybe 9 frames. But
yeah,
there was a great one in there. And I arrived with my flash on, you know, like on a stand, and I was ready to go. And we were doing it in a green room, and there was a sort of curtain that I used, and he was just the loveliest. And then he did a show on Hollywood Boulevard and we watched that and it was like, this is really surreal, but just, Well, you know, how lucky am I?
We're dodging around it, but you did also photograph your dad in this as well.
At the end. In a way, I sort of wanted to sort of prove a point. Well, I just wanted to make sure I'd done all the legwork first, and then it was like, well, obviously, I'm going to shoot my dad.
Well, yeah. Was that was there a discussion about if you should, if there's enough page? I'm joking, but if there was enough pages, no.
I must have flagged it up that this was something I was going to do, and obviously I'd love to take a portrait as well. But I didn't want to do it. I wanted to sort of make sure I
did it in your own way.
Yeah, which it felt important to sort of, you know, do most of it, and then, all right, I'm getting to the end, so I better quickly squeeze that in.
Yeah, it's going to be very awkward.
Yeah. But that was that, and again, just to get the right, you know, we didn't spend long doing it either. They were all done really quickly, because I was very aware that this is my project. Yeah. They don't have to do it, you know. So it's like being respectful of everyone's time.
Well, I think sometimes you get the best shots, and I think that comes through in the work a little bit. Not saying they're rushed. I'm not saying that, but you just get that.
You don't want to be labouring. You want to try and get that. Yeah, you don't want anyone to be tired and fed up. And so that's it. But it's you know, editing I find quite hard, but sometimes it smacks you straight away in the face that okay, that's the one that has the right balance.
It's that first instinct normally, isn't it, that kind of goes through.
Yeah.
I mean, for printing as well, we'll kind of talk. We'll finish up by talking a little bit about the printing.
Yeah.
So printing, you've touched on it before, like in the darkroom and things, but it's always important to you. You see it on the screen.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, you want to see it in print as well to hold it? Are you always, maybe the screen's good enough, but it's kind of...
I suppose prints, I wasn't really printing very much. Obviously the exhibitions I would do, like when we did the Resonators exhibition, I did. But then sort of during lockdown, I didn't digitise my whole archive, and I already had a shop up and running, but I did manage to spend a bit more time making videos, talking about images, you know, like, oh, what happened on the, you know, this shot, you know, it looks like it's done in a studio. Well, this is the reality of what happened. And so I just sort of applied myself during that time to sort of show up. And it actually turned out to be a really good thing, because then I did invest a lot more time in printing and home printing, and, you know, and that's it, you know, that got me financially a stream through that whole time, but also was something that I really needed to start thinking about, sort of really looking after my archive. Yeah, so that's, but I have never printed on this beautiful paper.
I know, we have to mention, but we should also mention you use Epson printers as well.
I do.
So you've got a 900,
yeah.
Is that right, if I remember? And we've printed all the exhibition prints on the Epson P7500, which is the 24-inch machine. Pretty much the 900, but in a bigger box, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And also we have used the Harlemüller Photo Rag Metallic for this as well.
The thing is, you know, the sort of the fine art luxury standard, I think for most photographers would agree that it's a photo rag. Just, you know, the regular photo rag, everyone says Harlemüller photo rag. And that's traditionally what I've printed all my black and whites on. But then at the photo show this year, I went, what is this magical paper? And just had a bit of a light bulb moment where I thought, you know, I've got this exhibition this year celebrating 30 years, and I wanted to make it different, and I wanted to do something really special. And so I felt that this would be a really exciting way of sort of choosing 30 images, and this paper is just, again, it's a bit like holding that camera the first time when you go. It's very special.
I know, when I first saw it, when I got some samples of it, I think it was beautifully for black and whites and colour as well.
Well, it's interesting how originally I think I thought that for black and white it would be just incredible, but it wasn't until I started doing the test prints and seeing how the colour was responding to it, because I didn't realise quite how powerful that would be. And actually it did make me revalue what images were going to be in the exhibition and add more colour, because it was working so well.
It's just nicely for colour.
It's a very special product, and that's the thing. It excites me, and I think as well for sort of music memorabilia, it's adding. It's just like I say, I think it's the right thing, and it's beautiful.
It has just worked really well, and Harlem Miller have actually sponsored your exhibition. Is that the right word?
Lucky.
Supported, I think, as well.
And I had I remember having a chat with them and showing some of my test prints, and that was where it was really lovely to sort of get their feedback as well, and what they were drawn to image wise. And it's nice to sort of get that feedback, because photographers quite often just work on their own as well.
Yeah,
and so you're too close sometimes to your images to see it in a different way. So again, that's been really lovely. I'm really grateful. I find you almost get bored with them.
Do you ever do that? You kind of, I expect you're fed up of seeing these pictures for the exhibition. Are you?
Well, it's
not
funny.
Quite there yet?
Now that I'm sort of also working on this collage, I was telling you about, where I've tried to sort of just cram in as many pictures of all the bands. That's exciting me, because now I'm giving myself a little pat on the back and going, actually, you've done quite a good job. You should be proud of yourself. That's a long time in any job.
Well, it looks incredible.
Thank you. And thank you, because I mean, your help with the printing, we've worked very well as a team, hopefully. Hopefully you're not sick of...
I don't want to ever see Courtney Love again. We'll talk about that in the other video, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
But
there's always going to be one, isn't there?
Yeah, and it had to be her.
Wow.
Cue the comments. But yeah, it's been great actually.
No, thank you.
I'm
really excited.
Fantastic. Sat there with you printing it as well. And it's a couple of long days, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, a few little sticking points.
Yeah, but
not. I mean, you're always going to. And the thing is as well, because you want to do the paper justice, and you want the images to jump off the paper and really work together. And because it is slightly different paper, then you do have to adjust a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
But
it's quite a warm paper, isn't it?
Once you get it right, then it's like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so,
well, that's been insightful and fantastic. Thank you, and thank you for coming along and doing this interview for us. And
absolute pleasure.
Well, also allowing me to print your work as well. And thank you for Epson and also Harlem Miller's support as well to allow us to do it. But it's been fantastic. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel, and also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter. I'll put links to the exhibition, Scarlet's website, and everything in the description below as well. So you can just click through, have a look at all the amazing pictures and all the amazing shots she's taken of these.
Amazing musicians.
Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Right, slowly. Yes, some amazing musicians and things. As always, thank you for watching. And again, thank you to Scarlet for sitting down with me. And don't forget to check out the second video, or the second part, should we say, where we talk about a lot more about the prints and printing on this page, and also the process of actually printing an exhibition and what it actually takes. So yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So just keep an eye out for that one. And we'll see you then. Bye-bye.